Group E, Spain, odds on to win it, -120. Germany +110 behind them. Japan, the Blue Samurai, 14-1. And then Costa Rica, they're the biggest underdog in any group. They're 50-1 to win it. Not going to happen.
No, not going to happen.
BJ's favorite team.
BJ hates, he doesn't like he doesn't like bad teams. It's very strange.
No Los Ticos for BJ.
Yeah,
I don't like teams that cost me a ton of money.
I do want to set this up. So if you listen to part 1 of the preview, I went over this. I'm going to do it real quickly again. Last World Cup group stage, incredibly chalky. But the one before that, Spain, Italy, England, Portugal, all knocked out in the group stage. Germany finished last. England finished last in the group in 2014. Stuff happens. Weird stuff happens at these tournaments. Teams just don't gel. We're in Qatar. Maybe teams don't take to it well. Who knows? That said, that out of the way, I want to start with Anthony. All three of us kind of like a team in this group that we'll be backing. And you're going to be driving the bus.
Yeah, it's like Japan's fun, man. Like they're good. We're doing team by team previews for this World Cup, and they'll be up probably by the time you've listened to this podcast, if not right after. And I wrote about Japan and why I really like this team. Like they are excellent out of possession. If you watched Japan play the U.S. men's national team and completely play them off the park, then you know why there's so much to like about this Japan team. And it really starts in the midfield with a player on a team we don't like as a podcast. We're not big Eintracht Frankfurt people, but Daichi Kamada is awesome. And he really kind of sets the tone for their press. He's very good at it, very effective. You can't really do much with their numbers, right? Because they play in a very weak confederation and it's relatively easy to qualify. So like, I don't look at their numbers and immediately think that they're some great team. Like that's really on the level of Germany or Spain, but there is a lot to like. Number one, made it to the round of 16 of the last World Cup. There is experience. Their age profile is pretty encouraging. They have a good, center back pairing to the point where I trust them. Minamino, left winger. We've seen him at Liverpool. We know that, yes, he didn't quite work out there, but he can be, he was obviously good enough to get Liverpool interest. So there's stuff like there. He's having a decent season in France this year. They did lose Ko Itakura to injury, which sucks because he was having a breakout season at Gladbach. So not having him kind of stinks. But again, they have, people who are used to playing in the Bundesliga, whether it's Maya Yoshida at center back. So Takahiro Tomiyasu from Arsenal, like there's a lot of talent on this team. The question is, how do they compete with the big boys, right? Can they do enough to pressure Germany and Spain, who are dominant possession teams? I think I'd rather have somebody who's going to give it a go and take their chance against Germany and Spain, because what do we know about Germany and Spain is that both of them have similar flaws. Germany and Spain are dominant possession teams, but when they do lose the ball, they're immediately vulnerable. Germany's center backs are a big question mark. Spain is so used to having the ball. They're not great without the ball. So you can hit them quick in transition and get at them. And I think that's the two flaws of those two teams. And I think Japan as a team, they were very good at win the ball within 10 seconds, we're in your goal. And if they can pull that off once or twice, that's the path to them getting out of this. It also is just a path for chaos. I think that Costa Rica is the worst team in the field. So if they just beat Costa Rica, all they need is one fluke result, whether it's they draw Germany and then Germany loses to Spain, or they draw Spain and Spain loses to Germany. Like the team that they can get a point against draws, and then all of a sudden it comes down to goal difference. And then it's, anything can happen. I mean, they advanced on remember how they got out of the group?
Yeah.
It was the sportsmanship yellow cards.
Yep.
So
yeah,
like there's a path here. Like I don't love their path because of course Germany and Spain are very good teams, but we saw Germany at the Euros just last summer was 15 minutes from going out. And I was holding a 7-1 on them not to advance. And Hungary, the exact same thing. Not quite as talented as Japan, but scored 2 goals, and both came right on the heels of loss of possession for Germany. As soon as they lose the ball, they're vulnerable. So I think there's a path. I'm taking them at plus 400. It's a good long shot, good flyer on a team that I think is underrated and has shown their pressing ability.
So Spain plays Costa Rica to start. That means Japan and Germany play, and Japan's 7-1 on the money line. I'll be on that in the opening match. They're plus 375 to win the group. I think I would just rather play the money line against Germany at, higher odds. I don't hate Japan to win the group at 14-1, just with the way the schedule sets up, because they beat Germany. Then, all bets are off, because then Germany's got to go for it against Spain. I just think it sets up for a little bit more chaos than people will realize when they look at this group. They think, oh, straightforward. Spain, Germany. Spain's minus 900 to advance. Germany's minus 800 to advance. This is, set it and forget it. We'll see both of these two teams in the round of 16. I think that is a dangerous game to play, especially because there is a bottom feeder too. So like the group sets up for more chaos, I think, than people realize. Japan too, remember, like, so they got through at the, that was a tough one for me because I had a lot of money tied up in Senegal. So seeing Japan get through on sportsmanship points over Senegal was tough, but then they went up 2-0 on Belgium. And then they blew that one, and same kind of situation, right? Like, you can beat Belgium going the other way. I mean, the Blue Samurai, I think, as a group, we're going to be all over this team, over and over and over again.
Yeah,
so
we're going to catch, I think, almost 2 goals in both matches against Spain and Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked.
Well, not after they beat Germany. That number's going to crash when they play Spain.
Well, at that point they might be through, right?
Yeah.
But reality, like, I will be on them in the first match against Costa Rica. I think that match is actually a little bit trickier than, from a matchup point of view. We talk about, Costa Rica sitting in their low block, just banking on Navas. Like, of course, I think the talent gap is bigger. Like, I think there's value on Japan, but then they get to that second match. If they've already won it, how aggressive are they? I don't know. We'll have to look at like a team total maybe. I think they're so live in this matchup with the transitions, and their age profile is solid. Like, they don't have any like aging stars where you're like, I don't love that Furuhashi's not on the team, striker from Celtic, but they clearly trust their plan and got through qualifying pretty easily and had good underlying numbers, even though I don't really read much into it. So I like Japan.
All right, BJ.
Yeah, I love Japan, obviously, along with you guys. I mean, the underlying numbers, it's a plus 1.6 expected goal differential per 90. Now, you can take whatever you want from that. They played a lot of, smaller nations around Asia. Like, it wasn't that difficult. But again, like, doing that even against smaller nation is still impressive. And Anthony hit the nail right on the head, is this team lives in transition. And what they actually do a really good job of, they're probably going to play a center back pairing. Tomiyasu obviously plays right back, left back for Arsenal, but he played a lot of center back also at Bologna. Like, he's very capable. He plays there for the national team as well. Those are 2 really good ball controlling center backs. And what they do actually do a great job of is they just bait teams into pressing them. And the thing is, in that first match against Germany has a new manager. It's Hansi Flick, who formerly managed Bayern Munich. And the word conservative is not in his vocabulary. Like, they are incredibly aggressive in terms of their attacking and their pressing. Like, since Flick took over, throughout World Cup qualifying, Germany's averaging over 3 expected goals per match. Now, they haven't really played that difficult of competition. It's against Armenia, Iceland, Romania, and North Macedonia. Like, not exactly murderer's row, but it really led to a lot of bonkers matches in the Nations League as well. Like, they had a 5-2 match against Italy, a 3-3 draw against England. And Anthony also mentioned, like, they're very possession dominant. Like, they held over 60% possession in the matches against England and Spain. So the battle against England and Italy. So the possession battle against, Spain is going to be very interesting. I have no interest in playing Germany to get through or Spain to win this group. I think the prices are fairly priced. I'm more interested in Spain from a long-term future perspective. So you can turn into our tournament futures, and I'll get into Spain a little bit more detail. But yeah, I mean, Japan is set up perfectly to sit back and just live in transition against 2 teams. Like Anthony mentioned, Spain doesn't know what to do without the ball. Germany's way too aggressive in terms of their pressing. So the first match against Germany is going to be absolutely bonkers. It's a perfect overmatch as well. And I really, really like this Japanese team to get through, just like you guys, because again, the match against the friendly against USA that Anthony mentioned, like, where did their goals come off of? It was off of high turnovers, and they just punished the US on the counter. They can do the exact same thing to both Spain and Germany. So I agree with you guys. I love the Japanese. There's a couple of ways I've been thinking about how I'm going to play Costa Rica in this, because I'm going to be fading them quite heavily because they've cost me a ton of money throughout CONCACAF qualifying.
Got to make it back.
Yeah. So they got Keylor Navas, and that's it pretty much for this entire team. They 70% of their roster is playing in the Costa Rican Primera division. Half their roster is over the age of 30. Against the USA, Mexico, and Canada, they had about a -2.5 expected goal differential. And they allowed 8 goals throughout CONCACAF qualifying off 20 expected. Like this team, like Anthony mentioned, Michael's the hockey guy here. They basically just play penalty kill. Like they just sit back in their 2 low blocks and then they just throw clearances or long balls up to Joe Campbell and just hope that something happens. And that's really what they're going to do in this group. Like they're like Spain and Germany might hold 80% possession against Costa Rica, like maybe more. They're going to get off more than 20 shots against them. And it's just going to come down to whether Keylor Navas can really stand on his head. He's 35. He hasn't played much for PSG this season, but when he gets in between the posts against Costa Rica, balls just magically seem to find the post or magically seem to find his glove. So we'll see. So there's a couple ways I'm playing Costa Rica. 7-1 for the lowest scoring team. I don't even know how they're going to score in this group. They're going to put up a big fat 0. You can play.
They'll score against Spain or Germany off stupidity.
Yeah,
it's a guarantee.
But I'm going to be on.
They scored the first goal of the World Cup 2006 against Germany in Germany.
Right.
Paulo Wanchup.
They're -200
Second.
to finish bottom in this group. Like that's too high of a price. I'm not going to pay that. I'd rather just bet Japan incredibly heavily when those two play. You can bet them for 0 points at 2-1. I think that's still a pretty low of a price, plus 240 for exactly 1 point, maybe split a unit on those two. But the reality is I'm probably just going to be fading Costa Rica in every single match in this tournament, because like Anthony said, they are the worst team in this tournament. Their age profile is incredibly old. All their players are playing in the Costa Rican league. Like there's just no talent on the squad whatsoever besides Navas. So I agree with you guys. Japan to get through at 4-1, I think is a fantastic price. And just honestly playing Japan in every single match, just kind of doubling down. So you can do one or the other. Like you can just play Japan every single match, or you can play them get through. I agree with you guys. Just love the Blue Samurai.